Hi there and welcome to the Wednesday podcast presented by This is Ibrox. I'm your host Kyle McLean and as always I'm joined by two fantastic guests. Firstly, Kyran, it feels like it's been absolute ages since you and I have actually been on a podcast. I always refer to you as my Wednesday pal. So how's things with you, man?
All good. It almost felt like I was cancelled or something for saying something inappropriate.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Again. Well, we'll see. There's plenty to talk about in this podcast. You never know.
Oh God, I think tonight's podcast is going to be a night of mixed feelings, almost the way the past week or so or 2 weeks have went. So I am quite looking forward to this one. Hopefully, try and be as positive and as balanced as we can.
Yeah. Well, that's all we're looking for is a bit of balance, shall we say? And Shug, I think that's the first time I've been on a podcast with you. So how are you, man? What's been going on?
Apart from the obvious, I'm kind of picking myself up after Sunday, which I'm sure we all are. But apart from that, all good. Plenty to discuss anyway.
Yeah, listen, there's going to be a bit of a Moroccan theme on tonight's podcast based on the agenda and all the sort of news coming up. But as always, in the wonderful world of Rangers, there's plenty to talk about. I'm sure there's only one place for us really to start, and that's the fact that Willie Collum's come out and admitting that VR should have intervened and Rangers should have been awarded a penalty. Yet there'll still be people out there that will disagree with that opinion. We'll discuss the recent performances. If they bought Clement a bit more time, I think I wouldn't be the only Rangers fan that if I'd got asked that question 4 weeks ago, my answer would be very, very different to what it is just now. The Suter injury, how that's going to impact the team. Maybe it had an impact at the weekend as well. There's rumours of interest of a new centre-back. Rumours that the English Premier League clubs are already interested in Hamza Igamane, which can only be a good thing. More rumours of a January bid for Cyriel, which we'll get into. And the new CEO dropped an interview last night, available on the Rangers YouTube channel. So go check that out. That's pretty interesting. And then we'll look ahead to the game at Ibrox against Dundee this weekend as well. But we'll begin, as we discussed, Kyran, I've actually totally lost my notes here. We'll talk about the VAR leading to Rangers not being awarded a penalty in the League Cup final at the weekend. The head of referees, Willie Collum, come out. He's basically informed Rangers that there should have been awarded a penalty. The chief executive of the SFA has come out and said that the decisions will be wrong and that it was down to human nature. First of all, Kyran, it's a nice, easy question to start the podcast with. What do you make of, firstly, that decision in the first place and the sort of aftermath, what's come out of it, what Ian Maxwell and Willie Collum have both sort of said about it?
It's an absolute cop-out. Fair play to Willie Collum for coming forward and saying that, but how many times are we're going to have apologies and excuses to why the reason VAR is there in the first place? So to come out and say that it's human error when you've actually got technology that's cost a hell of a lot of money to avoid these decisions happening, especially the biggest of moments in a cup final where it's went to extra time, where guys have played their hearts out for 120 minutes. Don't get me wrong, the quality wasn't high in the game, but it was a great spectacle for Scottish football. And it's absolutely no surprise that the referees and the assistants have completely ruined it as well. I mean, when you watch the replay back as well, you can talk about VAR all day long, but the linesman is literally 5 yards from the incident. Like, why is he not saying to beaten? Like, I think you should consult your VAR team to make sure that this is 100% the correct decision, given the time and place that it was on the field and during the game. That there's no way you should be getting that wrong. There's absolutely no way to get that wrong, right? I'm not going to sit here and cry conspiracy and that one referee supports one team and one VAR assistant supports another and was part of a supporters club. But I do believe in pressure on the referees that can sway decisions. And I'm not saying that's what's happened in this situation, but when you see the amount of decisions that have went against us and for them, it starts to make you think it does actually work to put the pressure on the referees. Now, take Beaton, for example. I'm not blaming him whatsoever for the weekend, but you think back to last season, to Yang's sending off away to Hearts for them. Their managers came out and name-checked John Beaton, who was in charge of VAR for that game. The referee made the decision that day, and he knew what he was doing. He was starting a pile-on. Now, at the weekend, when there's a decision to be made there, do you give Rangers a penalty and almost hand them the trophy in extra time, a penalty we should have had, or do we just let it blow over because it'll probably go to penalties and Rangers will have a chance to win it anyway? You can see why referees make such decisions. There's not patterns here, but we do seem to see decisions like this or no decisions being made in these Old Firm games. You think of the Sima handball, you think of the Morelos one that was chopped off at Parkhead, you think of the Roof goal that was chopped off for a foul that we've seen a penalty given the exact same thing for the fixture at Parkhead last year. You even look at Kuhn.
Oh, he's got that excited about it there, Shug. Oh, wait, are you back, Kieran? Oh, we lost you for a minute.
I think the Wi-Fi had enough of my rant. I was saying Kuhn's goal at the weekend. There is a possible foul in Diamande there, maybe subjective, but that's what VAR's for, right? Look back to Dessers' equaliser, or did it put us ahead at Ibrox last year in the 3-each game? We went back 70 yards to try and figure out if Tom Lawrence had got a nick on the ball inside our own half to then rule that goal out. Why has that not been looked at properly? Like, Diamande doesn't just slip there and sit in his backside while he gives their most dangerous player 20 yards of space inside their 18-yard box to tap the ball in the net. So this is where I stand on it. I don't think there's a conspiracy, and I'm never going to cry conspiracy because I just think the referees are poor. But when you're putting pressure on referees who are part-time in their job, it's going to have an effect on them. And there's one team doing that in this country, and there's one team it's working for.
Yeah, it's this is Ibrox lawyers at the ready there. But yeah, I totally agree with virtually everything you've said in that. It's hard to disagree with it because there was a question here from Robert Binney, and it is, how many games now against Celtic have we witnessed human error? Said another comment, he says, Rangers players should have asked for a check. Yes, maybe that is part of it. Maybe something we'll discuss that, Rangers... But it shouldn't be down to the players to be asking the referee for a check. Do you know what I mean?
Am I right in saying that you're not allowed to? I think you run the risk of a booking if you're asking the referee to check VAR. I don't know if that is in the rules, but that's my understanding.
That would seem sensible to have something like that in the rules, but I mean, it wouldn't be for me to say. I certainly think there was players in that game that were perhaps influencing referee decisions straight from the off, but that's another conversation in our time. And Big Phil here says they are forensic with decisions against us in recent Old Firm encounters. Were they having a tea break? Listen, Shug, I'll come to you in the next sort of part of it here. It says, my notes I've got in human nature, surely VAR was brought in to eradicate that. What's your thoughts on it all? And I'll let you go for the next 5-10 minutes.
No, I mean, I'll try not to go too much a rant as well, but I mean, it's human error that counts before VAR, and it counts for some instance, not this one. And I think, see, when you just put it down to human error, not only are you're not helping the Scottish game, you're not being transparent with people, but you're also not helping referees develop. This idea that we just take referees off games and we just say, it's human error. If you make a mistake in your work, or there's a number of you involved in a mistake, you look at where the point of failure is and you communicate that. You don't go to your boss, I'm sorry, and when no explanation. So for me, you've got to, first of all, explain what happened. Did you not pause to properly look at this? Because that to me is a poor mistake, because any of us could see that was close to the box. Again, none of us blame John Beaton, because I think referees will always go on the side of caution if they think it's, close to the box. They're always going to be a bit cautious.
Yeah.
But the fact you don't go, right, let's take our time. It's a free kick in a dangerous area. We've got time to look at this. The fact they don't, but we have to be told, fans need to be told, and clubs need to be told, what was the process? Because as Kieran said, clubs are paying a lot of money. It's a high spectacle. There was a lot at stake. Tell us what went wrong. And you know what? If it is a genuine error that, under the pressure, they didn't take the time to look at it, that's terrible. But at least we understand what the process was and we can go from there. I think on Kieran's point on the pressure on referees is spot on. And again, I think it's somewhat of a backward kind of compliment to Celtic, because they are good at the dark arts. You've got to give them that. I mean, you look at the Scottish Cup final, when Joe Hart, whether or not it's a foul, I don't want to go back into, or from Raskin on the keeper, I don't want to revisit that. But what did happen is they went right to the referee. They made a massive song and dance about it. There is no way the referee couldn't have looked at that, because they influenced it so well. And that, again, that's not a criticism at all. We need to box clever with this. We need to get answers. The reality is the cup's gone. There's nothing, there's nothing you're going to do. There's no apology that can bring that back. But what we've got to start doing is putting a bit of pressure on referees, and also boxing clever when it comes to these games, having a smarter influence. You touched on how Cal McGregor, that's what I kind of alluded to, how Celtic captains talk to the refs. You've got to give him credit. It's intelligent the way they manage a game. I don't agree with it. I don't agree it should be stamped out. Refs should be stronger, but we just have got to get a lot better at that, and we have to demand a lot better from the league as well. So I promise no rant, but that's a bit of a rant. But bottom, it's not good enough.
Yeah, and again, I think exactly what you said is entirely fair enough. See, where I've been thinking about it and where it's been particularly annoying me is, and again, okay, I'm going back to the SEMA incident in that Old Firm game, and what we found out from that is that there was a process. They came out and they said VAR should have been used. I don't know why we are not, or the Scottish referees are not following a clear process that is in place. Surely that should just be just a fact that if there's if he's awarding that free kick, I mean, I cannot think of an explanation as to why that was not looked at. That's the thing that I'm really, really struggling with it. But listen, Kyran, last question about the whole thing, but genuinely, what is the best outcome that Rangers can get from this? Is it just we just need to keep applying pressure for referees, which is insane to do their jobs right?
Yeah. For me, I think it's sort of a root and branch change, not so much Rangers. SFA, I don't even know if that's the right saying, but I don't care at this point. That it needs. I honestly think we need to be looking at full-time referees. These guys that are part-time, that have high-profile jobs away from refereeing, it's almost like they could be doing with more training. We sit and talk about protocols and what's the process and was it followed with these decisions. Now, when we are not serious about refereeing, then how can we be serious about them doing their job properly? We need to sort of help them in every way that we should. And this was my view before we brought VAR in. I was never against it. I'm a big fan of the NFL, where everything like this is reviewed, and using video replays is very much a part of the refereeing there, and it does assist the referees. But I just can't see how it's been used properly whatsoever. In this country, there's just been problems with it from day one. That we talk about human error. The humans that are making the errors that are operating VAR are the referees. Now, they've stood down Alan Muir and they've stood down Frank Connor, which is going to be very interesting. I know it's just for this week only, but that's Alan Muir's full-time job now, is to be a VAR assistant. Well, the VAR operative, almost. I don't know what his official title is, but that's going to be interesting to see how that works. But again, I think we kind of seen these problems coming when Willie Collum got the job of being in charge of refereeing when Crawford Allen stepped down. So for me at the time, I said it would have to be an external appointment, someone with no connections to Scottish football that was going to make a change and make a difference. And it's not really. It's okay coming out and apologising, but an apology doesn't really work in our trophy cabinet, does it?
Yeah, I think as well, recently, Willie Collum, I haven't watched much of it, right, but I know he's done the programme of reviewing decisions. This is where you actually show, are you committed to doing that? Because it's all right doing that when St Johnstone are playing St Mirren and you're showing that and you're explaining the decisions there. But the high profile ones, are you going to hide from them, or are you going to properly address those ones and explain and go through the process on that? So we'll see what the next week brings. But initial comments tells me they're just got to bury their head in the sand.
Yeah.
Well, interesting enough, Willie Collum's actually come out when I was reading about it. He said that the review show is getting recorded this week, and that decision will be getting discussed on it. I'll be fascinating to see. Like, I mean, the SFA shat the bed a few times before in terms of not releasing audio and key stuff. See, if you just release the audio, there can be no dubiety about it. That I think that's what we would like to hear. But and as I said, I honestly don't know what the best outcome Rangers can have from this. Is it just not having either of those officials officiating the games? Because those are both names I've heard in terms of making wrong decisions at Rangers games virtually. Because I'm sure, like a lot of Scottish football fans, I watched that show. It's like an odd fascination with it. You're just kind of waiting to see if your team's mentioned on it. And every week there seems to be, last month it was the St Johnstone Rangers penalty award. Should have had a penalty at St Johnstone. There was another decision, I think, involving John Suter. Yeah, Dessers as well in the box. Should have been a penalty. The one where John Suter hit his hand shouldn't have been a penalty type stuff. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes.
Sorry about in again, Kyle. But on the audio, I'm right in saying that Hibs got to hear the audio. The audio was released to Hibs earlier in the season, and they received an apology with regards to the VAR. It would be interesting to see if we are treated in the same manner.
Yeah, totally agree. It will be. For what it's worth, I'm sure we'll come on to the new CEO, but I don't think he's the type of guy that's going to be messing around. I just wonder what he thought in his first day in the job, that he's already having to talk to the SFA about refereeing decisions in the old firm. But just one last point, Robert Binney, because I think this is quite an interesting. He says football should just copy the rugby format, and I think that's fair enough, because then there's no dubiety. It's all everybody can see what's going on. That transparency, that's the word I've been stumbling to spit out my mouth for the last 10 minutes. That's what they're all banging on about. And Tommy's Cardigan here says, best outcome is Rangers players demanding more from refs in the park and the manager applying pressure. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what goes on there. Shug, I'll come to you for the next part here. We'll maybe try and be a bit more positive about things in terms of the question that we've got for tonight's pod. It's, have Rangers' recent performances given Clement more time? There's been some pretty good results, some pretty good performances in there. Nice, Kelly, Tottenham, and even, dare I say, the weekend. We alluded to it 4 weeks ago. I don't think I would have kept Clement. Have you changed? Do you think enough time's passed? Are we on the up?
Yeah, well, I think, listen, being completely honest, I was like 95% the Rangers support. I was done after Dundee United. That was kind of the last straw. I didn't see where we were going. There was nothing to hang on to. And since then, they've actually gave us something. There's been a real upturn. There's been a change of shape. There's been a change of personnel. There's been a change of body language and fight about the team, which I think has gave us something to hang on to. Now, I wouldn't say I'm completely convinced that we're on the right path and that Clement's the man. And, after a cup defeat, I can say that. But I do certainly think he now deserves time. I think he has now shown us that there is something there that is worth sort of hanging on to, at least for the meantime, to giving him some time to see what we can do, see if it continues to progress. As I say, I think we've probably got to, the board gets a lot of criticism, but all of us would have wanted to pull the trigger after the Dundee United game and get rid of him, and it wouldn't have been the right decision. It would have been a temporary manager in, and they wouldn't have got those performances. We would have probably got, a couple of doings in there as well. So yeah. I think we've got to say it was the right decision to just let the pressure ease a wee bit and give a bit of time. So hopefully it kicks on. It needs to continue to progress. I'm still not in the absolute Clement in camp, but he's certainly bought a bit more time for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. All we just need to do is just clip that wee tiny bit of Clement's the man that you've said there, and that'll be as good to go.
Just, all right. Just that 1 second, Clement in.
And Kieran, I'll come to you and ask you virtually the exact same question. Has your opinion changed on it? Have the recent performances actually given Clement more time? And dare I ask, what do you think has actually changed? And you can't just say Hamza Igamane's playing, by the way.
Oh my God, man. I was actually going to say that. I don't know. I think I've went back and forward on him more times than one of the balls at Wimbledon. I'll be honest, right? Okay, Nice away, we sat in this podcast and tried to predict what the lineup was going to be. Not one of us sat here and said Hamza Igamane to start up front.
Yep.
He put him in, and from that moment forward, we've been good. Things have changed. Danilo's came back. He's been fit. He's been brave enough to go 2 up front. We've been crying out for that. And he's made tweaks. We've all been saying the same thing about how stubborn he has been tactically and with his shape, and that he wouldn't change it. He's made tweaks for the better, and we've started scoring freely. Now, going back as well and when we were looking forward to the week that we've just had, we were all dreading this. All the talk was, Spurs coming to Ibrox, that's going to be a hiding. How many are Celtic going to put past us in the cup final? How long is it going to take the CEO to sack Clement on a Monday? That was the chat.
Mm-hmm.
He's turned it round and things are encouraging. And we're now sitting here saying, we should have won against Spurs. We should have beat Celtic. If it wasn't for, you can look at the 4-on-1, you can look at the refereeing decisions, fine margins. We lost in a penalty kick. We could have been sitting here with a victory against Spurs and another trophy in the cabinet, but it wasn't to be. But there's signs of encouragement there where the young players, which he's sort of banged on about for a long time, are actually starting to progress. Guys like Jefte, Igamane, I thought they were brilliant, both of them against Spurs. Nico Raskin, absolutely playing out his skin. To me, he's captain material. He leads by example in the middle of that pitch, and we need to get more help round about him. It would be. I think it'd be a good thing to do that too. But in terms of Clement, again, fine margins. I think he's got to win against them on the second. I think that is an absolute must, and I don't think there's any better time than when the players are licking their wounds, thinking about what's just been at this weekend, that you've got a chance to go and rectify things. And who knows, there's football to be played before then. If we can win our games, let's see what we can do. If we can beat them at Ibrox as well, you just never know. But there has been a resurgence in the team. There's been an uptick in how we're going about off the ball in terms of that press high up the field. I'm starting to like what I'm seeing. Now, the whole chat about style of play, there was no chat of style of play last season when he sort of had experienced players in there that had played in the team for a long time. It wasn't until he was trying to gel a team together that folk were saying, what's his style of play? Now we're starting to see a wee bit of that people are encouraged, but he has got to get a result in the second. I think if he gets that, we can start to move forward a wee bit. And do you know what? See, if he gets a result in the second, I really hope this board backs him. If this is a rebuild and a proper rebuild, I hope that they give him the tools to do the job, because I've seen signs of encouragement the past 4 weeks.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. A couple of comments and basically saying similar to what you're saying there, Kieran. AJWTF says there's finally competition for places, which I think is absolutely huge. A player that I think, for me, the main thing, honestly, has been Raskin coming back into the team. Yeah. He's the guy that's everything has allowed us to just be that 20, 25 yards further up the pitch. He's been an absolute dog in the best sense of the word in the middle of there. Ross here, hello Ross, says, rare to say this Rangers board come to the correct decision. When they made that, there was no board, so I don't know how true that statement is. And Sharpie Sharp says he must win in January. And Luke Gibson 97, hi there, look, always good to see you in the comments. He says not fully Clement in, but the recent performances have been encouraging. I think if he can't beat Celtic on the second or at all this season, then time will be up. Shug. Kieran touched on it there. Do you think that Clement has to win this game in the 2nd of January?
I think he does for his sort of to prove that he's the man to kind of take us forward, at least give us that belief. He does. I don't think it's as black and white as he gets sacked if he doesn't win that game. I don't think you can say that right now, because let's be honest, see if he keeps putting on good performances, if you can see where the team's going. Celtic, listen, as much as we hate to admit it, Celtic will get a better squad than us. We need a lot of work still in that squad. Yeah, we can compete with them on a one-off game. There's still big gaping holes in the squad that we need to, work on. It is still, building. So I don't think it's as cut and dry as you say it, or if he gets beat against a team who have a bigger squad, then he's out. But I do see Kieran's point that it's been too many games now where you've just came up short. I think long term, I don't think he'll survive if he doesn't win that game. So it is crucial in that way. It's not a case of sacked after it, but it is crucial he does get that monkey off his back.
And Kieran Shug was awfully close here to mention financial gulf there, wasn't he? Very close there. We were going to have some comments about that there. But Kieran, my next point, and I think that's fair enough. For self pride and just because this is what keeps getting like every podcast that I'm part of, that we're all part of, when you start to see it in the comment, you see it, he must win, he's not won any of his game. Like it has to start affecting you at some point. So yeah, it has to change there. Kieran, the new CEO, Patrick Stewart, and I don't think I'll ever get over saying that, gave an interview with Rangers TV. I felt he had a couple of interesting things that he said on it. He said there's a lot we can be really proud of in terms, what's been achieved so far under perhaps some trying circumstances over the past 7 months in particular. I think there's been no secret on the park. We're not where we want to be in terms of trophies off the park. The AGM results, were there for everyone to see. And also from a perception perspective, I think sometimes the wider perception for Rangers hasn't been where we want it to be. So there are challenges there, but equally we've got some really strong foundations to build from. I actually found that quite sensible. What did you make of what Patrick Stewart had to say? Was it refreshing to hear that sort of stuff?
I think it's good to see a CEO front and centre. It's more of an introduction thing and a wee bit of lip service, if we're honest, just to appease the fans. And here he's here, and this is the sort of figure that you've been asking for, and we said that we would give you. In terms of the job itself, he's a brave man to come in and try and clean up this mess because he's got a hell of a job to do. But he started well, going and challenging the SFA on things that aren't right. So he's off to a good start. It was good to get clarity over the position that he holds as opposed to Fraser Thornton, who'll be our new non-executive chairman. So the day-to-day running of the club will be by Patrick Stewart. And I think this is something we've cried out for, because if I'm right in saying John Bennett was based down in London, was hardly around the club and stuff like that, it's almost good to have the figurehead of your club there on a day-to-day basis and at arm's length if you need answers to any questions, or people working closer together behind the scenes at the club. So in terms of the interview, yeah, it's progress. I don't think we're going to see these too often. I think he touched on that as well. And I think before he came in that it was said about him that he doesn't want to be the here I am in front of the cameras every 2 minutes. I don't think he likes all the accolades. I think he likes to work quietly in the background if you're to believe everything you hear about him. So yeah, let's see what he can do. He's got a tough road ahead and hopefully he can get us back to where we want to be.
Yeah, that's it. And it's funny you touch on the chairman there. I'm convinced they've just brought him in so that the boardroom, everybody's just going to be steaming most of the time, and that'll be where most of the decisions come. It would make sense for some of the decisions we've taken previously. But listen, Shug, he continued and said something quite interesting towards the end of that interview. He said, I do intend to be visible, communicate with the fans. Equally, I think that they would want me doing the job and just not spending all my time speaking to them. So the challenge for me is to find that rhythm where I am communicating with them, getting their thoughts and feedback. Equally, being able to explain things to them where the club's going from a vision and strategy perspective, whilst at the same time you're making the space and time to actually get on with things, which is what I think the fans would want me doing. Is that because I remember John Bennett coming in and speaking about communication? Is that ultimately what needs to change here? Because I think that's arguably Rangers' biggest fans' biggest gripe with the board is the communication has been shocking. Will this be different with him coming in? Oh,
bye.
I muted you, or somebody muted you.
Oh. No, back. I think he speaks a lot of sense, and it's a good start. We'll wait and see how it kind of plays out. But yeah, I think it's all about that balance. There is no point having a CEO that just constantly talking, constantly in front of the cameras, as Kieran kind of alluded to there. But there has to be, some level of communication, and at the right times as well. Things like this season when the, Hampden fiasco, that should have been clearly communicated. That's an important issue that needs to be addressed with the fans, But as fans, we just want to see the direction that club's going in, So it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of communication, but it's also a bit of, well, we'll believe it when we see it, because when we start seeing results on the park, things happening off the park, we're happy. So it's a bit of both. It's talking, but it's also, making things happen.
I know. Oh, you make it sound so simple there, Sugar. I wish it was. Just win and just make us some money off the park, and we'll all be happy.
Easy.
That's what it is at the end of the day. And referees getting decisions right. Football would be an easy game for that stuff happening.
We'd have nothing to talk about.
It is the reality, though. Anything can be hard. And see, when the team's winning, it totally takes the pressure off everybody there, doesn't it? Like, it's just the reality of football. But he has got, as I said, I'm making it sound simple. I'm just going to basics. It is a very big job he's obviously got in his hands. But it's all about finding that balance and getting the things right and getting the quick wins as well.
That's it. Listen, obviously I was being a bit facetious there with that, but just it's his track record. The fact they can drop in. I worked at Man United for 18 years. I mean, they were no pushovers in the Premier League, and that is what I'm hoping. That's what I feel like the Rangers board have not been absent, but just not been fully defending the club at times or out. I mean, I don't know what's been happening behind the scenes. It could be a very different thing, but just that is the perception is that they were a bit meek sometimes in this, at least first day in the job, already asking about refereeing decisions. So it's brilliant. Listen, I'm actually going to stick with you, Shug, here for the next part of the podcast. This was something pretty interesting here. It was reported by Cora Maroc, which is like the sort of X page for all the Moroccan national football team news, all the league. I can't remember off the top. I was like, I'll need to write down the name of that league so I can remember it, but I can't remember what it's called. And what they have said is AS FAR and Rangers are set to sign a partnership that will pave the way for young talents from AS FAR's academy to make an earlier move to Europe. The deal will also see friendly matches scheduled between the two clubs, strengthening the ties between them. This partnership will be a huge step in the development of AS FAR's rising stars. Now, normally when I see something like this online, I don't think I would pay too much attention to it, but why I'm paying a bit more credence to this is the account that tweeted about Hamza Igamane about 2 weeks before anybody in the rain, like anybody had a sniff of it. So, and we'll be quoting him again. But yeah, what do you think? Is this a good thing? Are Rangers jumping the gun because we've had 5 good games off Hamza Igamane and we're away signing a deal to bring other players' clubs in? Has this worked out for Rangers in the past?
I mean, I wouldn't look, too much in it. I think if we're finding talent and we think there's an area where there's talent, then you should explore all creative ways where we can get access to that. Because you better believe if you get a player and they're a star, there are hundreds of other clubs now looking at that club and looking at that area. So I think any creative way where we can get inroads into different clubs. I don't know what that kind of partnership exactly, how that would kind of look, or if it even is going to happen. But I think we should always be looking to tap into different markets. And yeah, listen, because Igamane's done well, doesn't mean we're going to get 6 players out of this team. But if we end up getting another one, it's worth it. And I very much doubt by a partnership they mean we're going to throw money at a club and just say, here you go, give us all your players. I don't think it's quite like that. But no, I'm all for it. Listen, we can't compete with a lot of the big team, a lot of the Premiership teams and teams have got a wider reach in that side. So we have to be creative. We have to be looking in different areas. So I'm all for it. There's been plenty of criticism and some have been critical of the recruitment, but I'm all for it if we're looking at different ways of finding gems. And Igamane certainly looks if he's got that potential. And if there's more there that they think there's more, then certainly we should be looking at avenues to get that.
Yeah, I just can't wait for the Bellshill RSC to be making it all the way over to like Rabat in Morocco for a wee game. Just getting the bus into Sicily or something like that and crossing over into Morocco. But a couple of comments in here. Luke Gibson here says Niels Coppin is cooking. This very much does reek to me of Niels Coppin because he does seem to do things slightly differently, searching some good areas. AJWTF says we've got to sign them quicker than anybody else. And Tommy's Cardigan here says we need to start playing our own talent. Heard pathways into the first teams for years. I suppose this will bring me on to my next point quite icely here, Kieran. There's been sort of rumours going about John Souttar is going to be out injured for several weeks, it appears. It looks like the first player in fact, before going there, how have you been impressed by John Souttar this season? Do you think that was a bit of a loss even at the weekend? And yeah, what have you made of Souttar's season so far?
I think he's had a good season since the game at Parkhead. I think he had a poor day that day. Since then, he's really kicked on, and I think the catalyst to these was the games for Scotland. Actually, I think he get back-to-back man of the matches, and he get the shutout against Portugal. Since then, I think he's kicked on, and it's more of a confidence thing. You can tell that if he looks 10 feet tall when he's playing, it doesn't look like he's going to have that one error a game John Souttar moment. I think he's had a great season so far, and it's just our luck that when he comes out in the press conferences and speak about how well his season's been going and how he stayed injury clear, that he gets injured the next game, right before our biggest game of the season so far. So
typical.
It's a real shame, but yeah, I like John Souttar, and I know we're talking about transfers and stuff just now, but John Souttar ticks all the boxes about the transfers that we should be finding and going after. The best young players in Scotland are not so much in his case, like players that you can bring in for free that are going to do you for 4 or 5 years, that they can cement their place as Rangers players, even if they're not going to be sold. I don't think for a second that John Souttar's on astronomical wages like you would bring in a centre-back from abroad for good money. I speak out of turn when I say that, but it's almost like Scottish players you are going to get on a cheaper wage. So for me, bringing these players in is a no-brainer. Connor Barron as well. I know he's been out of the squad recently, but there's more to come from Connor Barron. He's a young player, so young Scottish players for me is the way to go, and Souttar's the ideal example of that.
Yeah, totally agree. The comments agreeing with you here. Luke Gibson says Player of the Year Souttar, and Robert Binney says Big Soapy has been a standout so far this season. But yeah, that's what I was sort of coming on to there. That's the first sort of sniff of a real transfer rumour so far, is the fact that it's that AS FAR team from Rabat that we got, Hamza Igamane, Kyran. Is a player, Hatim Essaouabi. I'm going to pronounce that one before, if he ever does sign for us, before I'm told inevitably that I'm pronouncing that wrong. But
I'm sure Ross will correct you.
oh yeah, he'll be getting his black book out of pronunciations here. Is this the type of player that Rangers should be going for? Do we need another centre half in the January transfer window? Is Sterling going to be enough cover for that?
No, I think we 100% need at least one centre back in, especially this window. We look at the timeline of John Souttar, and I think it's 4 to 6 weeks is the rumoured sort of phase. So once you get, I'm trying to think, come the new year, I've been out 2 weeks already. You look at the schedule in January, it's quite light. You look at things like Fraserburgh, Man U, I'm not sure who they are. Now, in terms of domestically, I think the fixtures are quite favourable in January. So come February, they expect to see him back. So if we can get one in early doors in January, then it would see as good. I'm not the greatest fan of Proper. I don't think he's going to... I can't see him being here beyond the end of this season. It's just not really worked out for him, although I did think he's been good the past couple of games.
Yep.
I still don't really trust him at centre-back. So in terms of the Moroccan lads that have been quoted as having an interest in, I know nothing about him. There must be a market there. He's 24 years old, which I feel is quite young for a centre-back. But again, it's easier to bring in these youngsters when you've got a team that's playing well and you can bed them in like that. It's just been a difficult start for us this year when you're trying to bed in every single youngster at the one time. So, yeah, I dare say I don't know too much about him, but you look at Igamane from Morocco, who's on the verge of getting an international call-up as well. So it shows that bringing youngsters in from these parts of the world seems to work, and folk are starting to take note and recognise.
Yeah, it's really exciting when you've got a player like that in your hands, Igamane. But yeah, it'll be fascinating to see what comes of it. Again, that was reported by the exact same, even before this AS Rabat link with the club sort of doing a partnership. That was reported yesterday by that same account that tweeted the Hamza Igamane thing. So either they've just got, listen, we get really, really good engagement from Rangers fans, so let's just start punting out stories for Rangers fans, or there is something in that. Shug, I'll ask a similar question to yourself. Obviously, John Souttar's injured. Is that an area Rangers need to strengthen? And I've got two wee questions. One, should Leon King be given a chance to play in there? And my next one, AGF WTF sort of touches a wee bit on this as well. He says, what's happening with Casemiro? Is that a guy you'd sign permanently?
I think in terms of centre back, I think we definitely needed to sign someone even before Suter got injured. For me, Balogun's obviously not getting any younger. Robin Propper, we've not been that impressed with. As Kieran said, he's been all right. He's been decent the last couple of games, and we'll see where that takes. But regardless, we were light in that area. Now the problem, I mean, I'm all for looking at this Moroccan guy. I don't know anything about him, so maybe it's a bit of a lazy stretch, but I think he'll struggle to, you're not bringing him in as an instant cover for John Suter. He's probably going to take a while to bed in. I think you're probably looking at you're probably looking at somebody that can go straight into the team. Maybe it's a loan, somebody from the Championship, maybe a lower Premiership that's not playing a lot. That's a good defender. I'm thinking back to when we got Goldson, the situation he was in, or even like Balogun when you got him, somewhere around that area where they're used to British style of football and they can come straight in. I think we probably need that to cover us for the rest of the season if Suter's going to be out for a while, and even if he's not, to just give us a bit of stability back there. In terms of this Moroccan chap, it might well be the answer kind of longer term. He might be a good player. I didn't even attempt to pronounce it, so Moroccan chap will do. In terms of Leon King, I mean, I feel sorry for him because I think he was thrown in a couple of years ago at the deep end. He wasn't ready. He didn't have a solid centre-back pair next to him. I think he was hung out to dry a little bit. There has been kind of ideas that he'll turn into a defensive mid, because I think there's always been kind of worries about his size and kind of stature in there. I think there's a player in there, but I really don't think right now throwing him in at Rangers is the way to go. I think he needs to go out and play somewhere and forge a career, and get games under his belt and make mistakes and, get his opportunity elsewhere. I think that's where he has to go. In terms of Casemiro, I would be very cautious just because it was happened with Cortez. I like the look of him, but again, if you ask me, should we throw money at him, in the summer? Absolutely not. We should look at another loan and then decide. Don't just throw money at this guy because, as I said, I liked him, but nothing about a big, long-term injury makes me say let's just spend what money we have on somebody.
Yeah, that is a traumatized man right there, Kieran. Yeah. Ross comes in and he says it would be a ridiculous decision if we signed Casemiro after a season-ending knee injury. Welcome to Rangers. He's only put that name in there so that I can try and pronounce it. I'm just going to say Casemiro again. So, but it would be the most Rangers. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Lessons have to be learned from the Cortez situation. It does, on paper, looks like a fantastic player. Maybe somebody we'll talk to when we're sort of previewing the Dundee game, given that he got 45 minutes yesterday in the Glasgow Cup. But listen, we're going to stick around about transfers here before we come on to two forwards to talk about, Kieran. Again, we'll stick with the Moroccan team here, but it's been reported that Hamza Igamane, there was Everton scouts apparently at the Tottenham game. Brentford have been keeping tabs on as well, and a couple of other unnamed Premier clubs. Are you surprised at this already? Is this just about, Rangers sort of building up a bit of anticipation about him and purely indulging in a hypothetical question here, but Rangers have been accused of not striking with irons hot. What type of money would it take for Rangers to, not get rid of Hamza Igamane, but sell him on? I'm
going to try and hold myself back here for making a daft sound. Clipped up and I've been there before. In terms of Igamane himself, things have went perfectly. Before the Spurs game, I was thinking Clement's going to go conservative here. He's going to start Dessers up front and just go with what he's used to in Europe. But do you know what? Games like these against Spurs, against opposition that are in the spotlight, are where you get your players noticed. You look at our European run, guys like Aribo and Bassi get noticed at the highest level. In terms of Igamane, he is going through a real purple patch just now. In fact, is he going through a purple patch, or is this just the player that he is? We don't really know. But one thing that we have seen is that he's improving every single game. Excuse me. And that I am a wee bit surprised at how soon the scouts have come about, but it's because he's done it in high-profile games. I thought at the weekend he wasn't in the game so much, but the moments that he had, he made them count. You look at the cross for Diamande's goal, the shot, which I took very well. How many times have you seen him smash a ball off Carter Vickers? Like he's done great to take his time and stay composed there and get a clean shot away. So for me, in terms of strike where the iron's hot, I don't even think we're at our hottest yet. I'm pretty sure the Moroccan manager has said that he's going to cap him the next time round. So even there, he's going to go and play at the next level. So we're still not even there yet with him. So if somebody wants to come and bid for Hamza Igamane before we even get anywhere near his peak, because we know what they're doing, that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to get in first to get him before he does hit his peak, knowing that we play in Europe every single year and there is going to be every single club watching him if he keeps up this form. Then if you want him just now to get in early, you're going to have to pay proper money. And I'm not going to quote a figure.
Sensible.
Yeah, I'm looking at Ross's comment here. I don't know if you can flash this up for me, Kyle. Ross has said, if a club offers anything close to 10 plus million, I think the club will take it. Can't see that happening, no. Think he will be here for a good couple of years. I think if a club comes in with 10 plus million, you have still got to stand your ground and say no, for the simple reason that if you are trying to be professional and you're trying to be positive about bringing in a player trading model, you can't just go and accept the first 10 million that comes in for your biggest asset. Because you know what happens the next time you've got an asset? Somebody comes in and lowballs you again. And I think that's something that I'm not even going to praise them across the city, but I think that's something that across the city stick to, that they stand their ground with signings and stuff like that. Look at Matt O'Reilly, for example. What did they pay? 1.8 million for him. They sat tight and they held out because they wanted a record fee, even though the guy had only proved it domestically and he couldn't even get in the Denmark squad. Yeah. So we've got a real asset here that we need to hold on to, and we need to progress ourselves and make him into a proper Rangers number 9, because it looks like he's on his way there. So yeah, I think he's under contract until 2029 anyway. So what's the hurry? Sit tight, be a bit stubborn about it.
Yeah, no, listen, I think the comments largely agreeing with you here. Robert Binney says 5-year deal for Igamane. Let's enjoy 3 of them before selling. Still learning and starting to show something. AJWTF says we lost a lot of money not selling at the right time, but Igamane is going to be worth a lot more in 2 years. Sharpie Staunch says, was it 16 million we were offered for Morelos at one time? Was that a French club or something? Was it Lyon or something like that? They came in with that bid. And Ross again here. Oh, wrong comment. Ross again here says, think the club will be scared of a Morelos Kent situation happen again, because that was Clement touched on it. It was sick. I don't think he said he'd ever been at a club where he'd had to let 5 players off the books because their contracts had run down. That was just utter negligence when it comes to football, to be honest with you. Shug, the next question here, and before I ask you this question, right, I'm not just accepting yes for an answer. I need a wee bit more on it, all right? Because I reckon a lot of people would just say yes to this, and it's another credible source. It's La Repubblica Sportiva, which is an Italian newspaper. That's got some quotes saying that Dessers is attracting transfer interest, in particular from France, in particular from St Etienne, and as every transfer window, there seems to be interest from Serie A and Cyriel Dessers, which I just don't understand, but it's there. Is that a guy that you would let go in January?
Absolutely. Listen, I tried to defend it and tried to say, look, there's times when he's done okay, but I think it's now coming to the stage when he's on massive wages. He's it's a massive change in the team when he comes on. And again, I'm not saying he never does anything well. That's far from it. And I think the penalty situation at the weekend, listen, we don't want to get too into it because we weren't in those discussions, right? But if you can't rely on your number 9 to hit a penalty, your striker who you're paying big money for to hit a penalty ahead of your left back and your goalie, and no disrespect to those guys, and obviously Butland hit a very good penalty, but if you can't rely on a guy on that kind of money to hit the penalty at the crucial moment, what is he doing there? We can't, in terms of our squad, we need to make the absolute most of the resources we've got. And again, every single player in that squad needs to be bringing something to the party and, contributing and really getting the most of them. We've got too many who are sitting on big wages who we're not getting good value for. And Dessers is one of them. So yeah, he has to move on, pure and simple.
Is he a player that fits into this sort of Lammers, Goldson, the sort of 5 that we let go for that 810k. Shug, would you just accept any bid for him, or would you say, listen, would three? Because I know I've spoken to a couple of people about this today already, and I know people that have said, listen, see if they gave us like 100 grand, get rid of him. And there's other people that are saying, nah, 3 million or something like that before we let him loose.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really in that position for the likes of Lammers because I thought he's had a good loan. You know, we could have got decent money for it. I don't, as I said, we don't know the ins and outs of everything. But Goldson, you know, I think we all agreed it was time to move on. But again, I wouldn't have been chasing him to door for pennies. But again, difficult situations on those as well. For me, I think it's getting that off the wage bill. Now, I think if you do that and it goes out on a loan and you can get better money for him in the summer, then do that. I don't think we should be straight away just accepting nothing, and you know, you should obviously try and get the most we can for him. But the most important thing, I think, is getting him off that wage bill, so that we can reinvest that and we can get a striker who'll come in and contribute. And I think the same about the likes of Matondo.
Yeah, again, hard to disagree with that. I was going to say, is the other striker that you're thinking about, is that from AS Far in Morocco, perchance? We're just going to bring hundreds of them in, get them over.
Didn't we say we were going to start up a GoFundMe for St Etienne to take him? We'll leave him that bike.
I know, man. Yeah, it is crazy that... but yeah, I totally agree with you, and I think you would find very few Rangers fans that would disagree with that if a bid came in for Cyriel. Even in the summer there, I was saying I think it's still mental that if there was a legitimate bid on the table, Rangers did not take it. But listen, just about the last 10 minutes of the podcast here, so that just gives us 10 minutes to sort of preview the Dundee game at Ibrox, Kyran, and it is a 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday. It feels like it's been a long time since I've been able to say something like that. Dundee are currently sitting 7th in the league. I was looking back at some of they've got some weird results, man, over the past few games. I think they're actually the only team to be beaten off Hearts domestically this year, but they're also been putting in some good performances. What can Rangers sort of expect from Dundee, and how should Rangers play, basically?
Yeah, I think we just need to sort of pick up where we left off and keep it going, get the 2 strikers on the pitch again. I think an ideal situation to go and do it at home at Ibrox against a Dundee team that seem to be very much up and down. Tony Dock has them playing good football. We know what they're going to bring. They're going to be well organised and plenty of energy. Lyle Cameron, I know someone that we are heavily linked with. A lot of people will be looking forward to seeing him. He's having a low-key, very good season. If we can keep him quiet as well, then I think that will play into our hands. So, yeah, I hope we see the Igamane and Danilo partnership up front again. But as a team we should be beating on paper and quite convincingly. So it would be good to get this one out of the way in terms of putting in a good performance and getting that confidence back after what's been a bit of a heartbreaker this weekend. Show a bit of a response and some character. Yeah,
I totally agree. That's exactly what we have to do. Just get our heads down, and another drubbing would be quite nice at Ibrox. Shug, simple question for you. Like I was really struggling to pick a lineup. I don't know if it was maybe it wasn't the lineups we expected against Tottenham and Celtic, but I felt it was maybe a bit easier to try and predict it. I wasn't expecting Tav to start both games, for instance. Yeah. So I'm really struggling to pick who will actually play in this game.
I think again you've got to probably take into account that there'll be a lot of tired legs after the Celtic game. There'll be a lot of a lot of struggling after that game. So I think it really depends on that. But I think it's more of the same in terms of the lineups we saw in the last couple of domestic games before Celtic and Tottenham. I think it's more of the same in that, attacking lineups, going for the jugular, trying to get, as Kieran said, we want to see a reaction. We want to see in the front foot more of the same there. As I said, I wonder what can impact that amount of minutes has had on the likes of Hadji, who hadn't played a lot of football. It's going to have took a lot out of them. Maybe Igamane, maybe he looked very leggy towards the end of the Celtic game. Again, they've had a full week to prepare, so hopefully it's back to. But I think we continue where we left off in terms of like the likes of the Ross County and the Kilmarnock game. You'll probably see a similar lineup to what we've seen there, apart from if there's any injuries.
Yeah, I'll stick with you, Shug, as well. Centre back, what is it? is it literally just as simple as Balogun and Proper have to play a game, or could you see that changing?
I think it's probably we're probably going to see Proper getting a run in the team now. I think Balogun can't play a lot of games. I think Sterling would do absolutely fine in this game at the weekend. I think Sterling, for any teams that have pace up front, Sterling could be somebody we utilise at centre back, and I think he'll do okay for us domestically in the meantime. But I think, yeah, when everybody's fit right now, it's probably picks itself as Proper and Balogun. But I wouldn't be against seeing Sterling play a key part. And again, we might end up using Leon King at stages, even if it's 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, to give Leon Balogun a bit of a rest. But I think that's probably your starting centre halves.
Yeah, and Kyran, I'll come to you. What would be your sort of predicted lineup for the weekend?
I think a lot of it picks itself, but I would definitely be taking into consideration, like Shug said, there could be tired legs. Now, it's I'm not shocked in any way to see that the final was played that weekend, where both teams in the final had European fixtures mixed midweek, as opposed to this weekend and having the league fixture last week. A full week's rest would have sort of helped both teams in that sense. So I think we've got to keep in mind that we've got to look ahead slightly and manage the squad, because it has been a busy week or so with playing at the very highest of levels. So for me, Butland and goals, right back, probably Tav. The form he's on, we do know that he's a machine in terms of fitness, and he deserves his slot in there. Listen, games like Dundee at home, etc., games that you know that you're going to win and he's not going to do much defending, suit Tav to the ground. So for me, Tav at right back, at centre back, Proper and Balogun, bearing that they're both fit. Left back, I'd still stick with Jeff there. I don't think Ridvan covered himself in glory at the weekend when he came on. Raskan sit in midfield, and a toss up between Diamande and Barron to come in, and I think Bushrami keeps that number 10 spot. I thought he was absolutely brilliant at the weekend. His best game in a Rangers jersey by far. On the left, again, you've got to be looking at Hadji. Hadji keeps his place. He's proven to be a key player since he's come back in, and hopefully we get a wee glimpse at Oscar Cortez later in the game. On the right, Czerny, he's been a standout this season. Oh, in fact, how am I getting Danilo in here? I want to see Danilo play.
You've beat me to it, because I was going to say you only playing with one striker there.
Oh God! Right, let's just play with 12. Let's start with 12. I don't know. That's up to Clement to do, but oh God, how do we do this? Do you know what? No Diamande, no Barron. Drop Bushrami one deeper. Danilo sort of in front of him, behind Igamane, and Czerny off the right.
We're going rogue. We're having two number. We've had no 10s. Now we're going with two 10s in the same space. I'll take it.
Count Hadji, that's 3.
I know. And Shug, just before I get you to give your inaugural Wednesday lineup, Kyran touched on it a wee bit there. Oscar Cortez played 45 minutes in the Glasgow Cup yesterday. Actually got a bit of an assist. How good is it to have him finally back? And what would your lineup be for the weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. We need options out there. You've seen it towards the end of extra time when we had to bring Dowell on for his. I think he tried to do a wee 2K jog around the pitch to keep himself ticking over.
As much as that.
but
like he's on the pitch just to get his steps up.
We badly missed an option out wide to come on. So I think Cortez coming back in gives us that option. It means we're not just constantly relying on Czerny. And I think sometimes the way we have to play, when we do sometimes go a bit more direct, we do need pace out there. And Hadji, I thought he was very good at the weekend, but he's not really got that pace in his locker, and neither does Czerny to some extent. So it's great to have him back. I hope that it's not just a case of we see him for a couple of games, we play him too much, and then he's out.
I'm not too sure. Oh, we're all back. I don't know what the hell happened there.
I know. I think I missed a bit where Shug said Dessler should start.
Dessler's and Doyle.
Right. Sorry, everybody watching. I don't know what happened there. It just went dark on my end. So, I heard you. I heard you basically slaughtering Dowell. Looking forward to Cortez being back, a bit of pace on the wing. So, what did you say after that, and who was in your lineup?
I think my lineup, I'd probably look at, Butland in goals, obviously, Tav, Proper, Balogun, and I'm the same. I'd stick with Yefty. I think he's continuing to progress in there. I'd go probably Diomande as long as he's okay. I'll go Diomande and Raskin in there with Badrami just in front of him, give him a run in that position. And then I'd play Hadji Cherny, and I'd go Danilo. I'd actually give Igamane a little bit of a breather. I think he did look leggy. He's still raw. I know there's talks. There was talks of 10 million there a few minutes ago, but I would probably just try and give Danilo a bit of a run. Get Igamane back in. Get Danilo back in. Sorry, try and get him a run in the team.
Sorry, but and again, would it be a good idea to give Raskin a rest at some point, because he has played a lot of minutes and his style of play, we really need him to stay fit?
Possibly, yeah, but I think we need a reaction again, as you touched on. So I think we need his aggression. I think get on the front foot. Yeah, if we're a wishful thing, but if we're a few goals up, if you can get him off after an hour, then you do that. You give him a rest. But I think we need to keep this momentum going. We've not had a good run of momentum in this season, so it can either go one of two ways. It can either go very, very flat on Saturday, or you know what, it can look like, it's a bit of a blow. We're back off the canvas, and we're building. We're still getting stronger. So I think you need Raskin in there to do that.
Yeah, I can't believe it, but that's been quite sensible for the pair of you there. So because I agree, I think Raskin is now too important a player to the way this Rangers team functions to drop him. But equally, if you're 3-0 up at 60 minutes, I can hear that liver puddling in the back of my mind there. JB going, get the subs on, mate, because we have to do that. But fun enough, it was Cherny was the player that I was thinking may miss out this weekend. They might go for Sterling a wee bit further forward and have because I think he's been brilliant. There's a shout for player of the season with Cherny because of the goals that he scored, but just the last couple of games, he's just, other than Tottenham, he just looked a bit gassed, even at the weekend. So I think it may be fair to take him out of the team. But listen, I think that just about wraps it up. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. We will be back at the weekend. I believe that'll be Craig and myself from Ibrox, giving you the latest after Dundee, and then we'll be back again at 8:30 on the Sunday. But thank you to both my guests. So thanks Shug, thanks Kieran, and we'll see you all again soon.